Where is he?
Where are you? Skull Rock. Do you know it?
Hello, everyone. This is Stacy reporting live at Skull Rock. I am joined by...
Hello, this is Megan. Welcome back to our Stranger Things podcast. We are super excited to talk about this episode today. We are doing our Lover's Lake deep dive of season 2, episode 6. This is going to be our last deep dive for a little while here, guys. So we're going to do this deep dive today, and then you're going to have a little bit of a break from deep dives because we're going to be in Epic Cons, the upside down mode. So we have the next few weeks some really cool guests lined up to talk to, all of which are connected in some way to our upcoming trip.
Yep.
And then just to give you a little look ahead, after we get back, it will be coming up on a Halloween. So we have a little bit of a sad episode planned for that week.
Bit of a fucking downer, not gonna lie.
Yeah, that'll come out the day after Halloween.
Yeah.
And it is the Day of the Dead. So yeah. And then we will do a recap of Epic Cons.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were just talking about it'll be Stranger Things Day around that time.
Oh, I can't wait.
So you'll have to look for some special things coming up for that. And when we come back, just to give you a little taste of what we just talked about, we are going to be watching episode 7, which is right after this episode.
Yes, it is.
And we have a little special treat for you for when that episode rolls around. So stay tuned. We think you will like it.
Yeah.
So we are excited to talk about this episode. And I'm particularly excited because I'm sure you can remember what my only complaint has been so far for season 2.
Yeah.
And what has that been, Stacey?
It's been a lack of Mr. Steve the Hare Harrington. It's just, we're getting glimpses, but I feel like in this episode, the spy, he kind of like now is feeling like a main character, you know?
Yeah, we did not have that problem in this episode. We had plenty of Steve in this episode.
Steve for days.
And it was great. So, of course, we're excited to talk about that. But before we get started, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Happy first day of fall. I'm drinking my apple cider. I'm munching on some candy corn. I'm going to try to hold back so you guys don't hear me chewing. But yeah, I'm living my best life. What about you?
Yeah, I am feeling a little under the weather. So
yes,
hoping to kick that before our upcoming travel because that would be unfortunate.
You sneeze in Joe Keery's face.
I got a big, huge smoothie, pumpkin spice smoothie from Smoothie King. So that was amazing.
That thing was as big as her fucking head, guys.
Yeah,
she showed it to me, and I was like, girl.
It's the large size. You can't not get a large. Come on.
I mean, come on. Well, in honor of this episode, you got to go big because I feel like this episode is where things really amped up. We open on a black screen in this cries of pain, and we flash to poor Will. He's on a gurney being raced down a hallway in the lab, and it cuts to Hopper getting what I like to call the upside down spa treatment.
That was a spray down.
Yep.
The upside down spray down.
That's happened to him twice in this show.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Like, god damn. He's gotten the hose many times, but Will is being examined by Owens and his team. They're checking his blood pressure. His temp is 106. When I had COVID, it went up to 102. And I was like, somebody needs to get me a pen and a piece of paper. I'm going to write my last will and testament. Like, it was bad. So 106 is really bad. And they check for burns, but they can't find anything. They ask, where does it hurt? Where does it burn? And Will cries, everywhere.
All over. Yeah, everywhere. And they give him this huge needle, which I guess kind of like makes him pass out. I'm glad you started because now I get to talk about the best scene in the show. No, I don't even know what I don't know if this is the best
It's
scene.
one of the top ones.
Yes, it's one of the top ones, and it also I feel like it's a little bit underrated because the train tracks get a lot of attention, the junkyard gets a lot of attention, but this one doesn't get as much attention, and it was so good.
Now, what song is playing? Because this is a song that I know everyone's like, oh, Sunglasses at Night. That's kind of like Steve's song. I always think of this song.
Yeah, what's it called? Because it's like waiting on the hammer to fall,
It's from
but
Queen, and it's
okay.
Hammer Will Fall.
Okay, nice. I
Mhm.
loved it. It is playing on the radio, it seems like, as they're driving in the car. And right off the bat, Dustin and Steve's banter
Oh,
is on point
yeah.
because Steve is asking Dustin, how does he know that it wasn't just a regular lizard?
Yeah.
And Dustin's like, well, its face opened up and it ate my cat.
I love the silence that follows after that because he doesn't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly.
But I like that the song plays, and I love the POV shots that are Quentin Tarantino of him opening up the trunk with the song still playing
Yeah.
and then tossing the keys. And what does he get out of the trunk?
He gets the nail bat out and he and Dustin just look at it. He closes the trunk and then they walk over to like the cellar doors and this scene is just great. Like Steve is like, I don't hear shit.
Mm.
And Dustin's like, it's down there. And he tells him that this better not be like some Halloween prank. And he shines the flashlight in Dustin's face. And I just couldn't get over Dustin being like, get out of my face.
It was instant, like, big brother, little brother, sibling banter, which I really love. And
Yeah.
something, I call them bulkheads, but I have one very similar at my house. But the
Okay.
stairs are on wheels. So anytime I have to go
Ooh.
down there, which is very rare, I think like Pennywise the fucking clown is going to eat me. So something about cellar bulkhead doors, they freak me out. So Steve
Yeah.
goes down there and what happens?
Well, he finally opens it up, and I liked how Dustin was shining the flashlight, and it was subtle, but his hand was shaking, so like the
Yep.
flashlight beam was shaking.
a
So
great
Steve
shot.
takes it, and you're looking up at them both. That was really cool.
Mhm.
And then they look around, and Steve decides to go down. Dustin says, "I'll stay up here," in case he
Casey
tries to sleep. And Steve just looks at him. Like the two of them, the way they play off of each other and just their facial expressions and everything about like their interactions is so good.
Yeah.
And Steve goes down. There's almost no dialogue in
Yeah.
the rest of the scene. And it's just Steve like using the bat and picking up all of the gross stuff because Dart has molted again.
Oh,
And he's not down there. He's like, Dustin, you need to get down here. And Dustin comes down and he sees the gunk and he's like, oh shit.
mhm.
And then he looks at the tunnel in the wall
Yeah.
and he's like, oh shit.
What a great shot too. Like
Yeah.
obviously Dart like ripped through the cellar wall and into the ground, and it shows this like sped up shot of the tunnel and then the actual like upside down tunnels, and it pans back, and I just love that it's at night, so it's got like this bluish tint, and you just hear Dart like, in the middle of the night.
Yeah, with the tops of the trees and the moon. It was a very beautiful
Yeah.
scene. Yeah. That was so good. Great like start to the episode because that is the opening credits. There's people from the lab that show up at the buyer's house and they're taking photos of everything that's all around the walls and taking evidence. You can see they took the tape out of the camcorder. And we go back to the lab and Joyce is in the room with the doctors and scientists and stuff.
And you can see Will is like clearly heavily sedated, and he's got Bob and Mike kind of like watching him. And we hear Owens and Joyce, they're speaking out to a conference room where Joyce is dressed in scrubs, and she's trying to explain how long this has been going on to Owens and the team of scientists. I do love how frustrated she is and what an advocate she is for her son. True Mama Bear energy. And she asks if he can get transferred to a real hospital, and they explain that is impossible. And I love how angry she becomes, like slamming her fist and demanding to know what's going on with her boy.
Right.
I
What's
don't-
wrong with him?
Yeah, and I think that's just a really strong common theme throughout this entire show. I will bring it up constantly about a mother's love. And in this story, Joyce is clearly fighting for her kid, and they just don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, it's so heartbreaking to see. And as always, her performance as Joyce is
Oh,
incredible.
Wino forever.
Cut to Jancy, Jonathan, and Nancy. This is probably one of the best Jonathan and Nancy episodes as
Hmm.
well. So they are making the tapes at Murray's. They are putting them in envelopes, addressing them to all the
I really
newspapers.
liked it. I don't know if this was on purpose that they zoomed in on one of the big envelopes with the tapes and a letter written, obviously, and it's to the Chicago Sun-Times. And I always think at the end of Firestarter, when that old farmer brings Drew Barrymore to the Chicago Sun-Times, and he goes, "You'll be safe now, Charlie." So I don't know if that was on purpose, but I
Ooh,
like that they zoomed in on that particular envelope.
I bet it was. Yeah. And what are they drinking as they do this?
Girl, they're drinking straight fucking vodka. Now, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, vodka, like, isn't like tequila and stuff," but straight vodka, I'll do 2 shots of that, and I'll be climbing up on the roof of a car. Like, they are having a good time.
Yeah. And you can tell that Nancy is kind of drunk again, and
Mhm.
she's similarly to at the Halloween party, she does a very good, like, drunk
Oh,
acting.
she's
Nata
so good, Natalia.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
love that they toast to taking down the man.
yeah.
And that's when Marie, like, invites them to stay the night. And here we get our first glance at Murray's couple therapy.
He's basically psychoanalyzing them.
Yep, big time.
He asks if they're having a lovers quarrel, and they're like, "What? No, we're just friends." And I love his line where he's like, "You've told me a lot of shockers today, but that's the first lie."
Yep,
And Jonathan has trust issues.
yep, and brings up his father, which I love
Yeah,
that Nancy's like, "He's an asshole."
yeah,
And Murray's like, "And you wanna stay, like, in this secure, safe bubble with," and he's like, "Name," and you hear Jonathan go, "Steve," and he goes, "Steve, we like Steve," and he just breaks it down, and he basically is like, "You guys have the real shit, which is trauma. You know, this is how
yeah,
you bonded. I can sense chemistry." And it's just like he lays everything out on the floor. He basically does the same thing the next season, and it's pretty interesting, but I'm not gonna get on my high horse because I absolutely love the narrative of this story. If Nancy had stayed with Steve, I honestly think Steve would not have had his character arc like he did. He needed to have that happen to him and get close with the kids. I love Natalia and Charlie's chemistry, especially with them bonding throughout the season in season 3. But this is my own personal opinion. They weren't broken up yet. They weren't, and I know, like he did say, "I think you're bullshit" and stuff. They were still together. We never got a scene of them breaking up, but let's just say they end up staying the night. She goes in the guest bedroom, he goes on the couch, and I love that they're by themselves and they're just like trust issues.
yeah, talking to themselves, yeah.
Yeah,
She's like, "Retreat? I don't
I don't
retreat."
retreat, and I must say it is pretty hot, and it's great chemistry when she opens up the doors and we hear Stranger Things theme, "The First Kiss," and it's just a swoon-worthy moment when they embrace and kiss, and I gotta tell you, damn Jonathan, he takes charge, and as they're frantically making out like 2 raccoons in a trash can, they back up into the guest room and keep the door closed.
Yeah,
So, Jonathan got laid, good for him.
yeah, yeah. Okay, this is my favorite transition in the
Oh
show
my god,
now
it's so good.
because we go from Jonathan and Nancy sharing the first kiss
Yeah.
to another great kiss between Barbie and He-Man.
Did you ever see that movie Masters of the Universe?
No, I have
It's
not.
so goddamn cheesy, but I cannot recommend it enough. Boom.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
So Erica is playing with her dolls, well, one of her dolls and Lucas's doll, and making them kiss and saying, "Oh, He-Man, you're so strong. What big muscles you have."
We've all been there. We've all done that with our Barbies. So I love that Lucas comes in and he is bullshit. He's like, "What have I said about taking my stuff?" And I love that Erica's like, "Aren't you a little too old to be playing with dolls?"
Yeah. Well, also, she's like, "They're in love." And
They're in
he's like,
love.
They don't even exist on the same planet.
I can't. It's so good. I love that she's like, oh, just like your annoying friends, code red, Lucas, code red. And he realizes that his walkie has been shut off. So he
Right.
frantically runs to answer it.
So this was also an incredible moment that I don't know if you noticed, because as he walks away, she reaches behind her and gets one of her other stuffed animals, and Barbie just continues making out with the stuffed animal.
Barbie is living her best life, all right?
So Barbie moves on quickly, just like Nancy, I guess.
I guess. Symbolism. Look at that. Yeah.
Again, I have the question, where did Dustin sleep?
Thank you.
So apparently Dustin hasn't slept in 4 days.
Been there before. It's bad.
Or did he like sleep at Steve's house?
That's what I wonder. Like,
I don't know.
did they just team back up in the morning, or did he go over Steve's?
Right. They haven't changed.
They haven't.
So, yeah.
I imagine they were just up all night. Like,
They had to like go get the beef. Like,
which right away you see them there. Steve's getting his shit out of his car when Lucas finally answers, and Dustin is like, "Oh, look who finally answered!" And he tries to explain that his dumb sister shut it off, and he tells him to meet him at the junkyard. And he says that he's with Steve, and right away Lucas is like, "Steve Harrington," and you see they have dishwasher gloves and a big bucket of cut up beef, which I don't know if that was like a little reference to Jaws with the chumming. But I thought that was really good. And they, make their plans. And he tells him to bring his wrist rocket.
his binoculars and his wrist rocket.
I love
Yep.
that.
Also, I noticed a bunch more American flags in this episode, which I feel like I pointed out at least 2 last time.
Yeah.
But there's an American flag in Lucas's bedroom, which I think we've kind of pointed out later. Maybe that's the American flag that Erica has over her shoulders.
Oh my God, I
in
never even
season
noticed
4.
that. I love it. She's
Yeah.
just taking shit out of her brother's bedroom all the time.
But also, like, later when he's riding his bike down the road, there's like an American flag on a tree. And it's just so
It's funny you said that, because when my sister and her husband finally plowed through it all back in 2022, they pointed out how many American flags there were. Like, I guess there's even bumper stickers on the RV. So I don't know if there are little Easter eggs and stuff, but they're all over the place. Owens comes in and Hopper is cleared. His face basically is my face whenever I'm really hungover. And they give him a biosuit and they take him down to where the gate is spreading. And they have to take this platform elevator down to look at it. Absolutely fucking not. The gate is huge and they reach the bottom floor where the scientists are taking samples. And Owen says it's spreading like a cancer. And when Hopper asks why aren't they burning it? He tells them there's a complication. Ooh,
Yeah.
what's that complication?
We cut to the complication, which is Will.
Yeah.
So Will is still in his hospital bed, and you see, I think Mike's sitting there next to him, and Joyce and Bob have a sweet conversation in this scene. Joyce is telling him that she had to sign lots of confidentiality papers. That's why she couldn't tell him. And Bob has a sweet line where he's like, I thought stuff like this only happened in movies and comic books, not to people like us. And she says that he's Bob Newby superhero, which I think is something that Will has also drawn.
Yeah.
So that was really cute.
That tugged on the heartstrings 100%.
Yeah. And they talk a little bit more about how Bob says maybe his idea of moving to Maine isn't so crazy. And Joyce is like, no, it's not crazy at all. He brings up how she said that this wasn't a normal family.
Yeah.
So they just have a really sweet conversation. But then when Will wakes up, he calls for his mom, but then you can see that he doesn't know who Bob is.
Yes.
Which is a little concerning.
Which I do like the kind of the look, first of all, his eyes look much darker, if anybody notices that. And he flinches away and he thinks Bob's a doctor. And instantly you see Joyce and Mike, they look like something's up. So kind of an eerie scene. But I do love that we jump back to Murray's, and Blue Bayou is playing, which Dreamcatcher fans by Stephen King, if you know, you know. And Murray makes a pretty looking delicious breakfast.
It looks pretty awesome. Like, he seems like a good cook.
Yeah.
I'd drink and have a hungover breakfast at Murray's.
And just talk conspiracy theories. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that it's the morning after for Jonathan and Nancy. And this is classic. The whole, like, them just kind of like awkwardly sitting together as the music's playing. And Murray asks, how was the pullout? And I love Jonathan fucking choking in Nancy's
He
face.
chokes.
And I love that, he's like, oh, it was fine, the pullout couch. And I love that actually this was a blooper. The actor who plays Murray, he wasn't supposed to drop the egg, but he just kept with it. And he just goes, whoops.
It was so funny. So funny. And you can see that they're kind of getting ready to go home and they're calling their houses
Yeah.
to kind of check in. And Nancy's on the phone with her mom. But then when she hangs up, she asks Jonathan if he wants to try again because obviously he hasn't been able to get a hold of anybody.
Yeah.
But Nancy's mom does tell her that Mike was apparently at Will's house
he
and that
thinks
they had a sleepover.
Maybe they're at the movies or something. Yeah. He looks worried, though.
Yeah. So on their way out, Murray gives them a bottle of vodka for their travels
Yep.
and a bottle of water to go with it.
To wash it down.
And and he says that if you need to reach me again, don't.
Yeah.
And he slams the door.
Cut to Lucas, and he's steering his bike to the Hargrove household. Inside, Round and Round by Rat is playing, and Billy is just being a classic fitness god. He is drinking a beer, ripping smokes, and lifting weights. And I have to say, Daker, you looked fucking good in this scene. But
Yeah.
the bell rings, and Billy continues to pump iron. And we come to Max's room, and I always clock that endless summer poster because of you, Megan.
Yeah. She's trying to duct tape her skateboard back together, which we can assume that I guess Billy broke it.
What a prick.
Yeah. But he yells for her to get the door,
Mhm.
and she answers the door and realizes that it's Lucas. So she freaks out, just goes out onto the porch to talk to him and closes the door. And Lucas tells her that he has proof because in that last episode, we talked about how Max wanted proof. She didn't believe the story.
Whew.
So when she goes back inside, I like how she tells Billy that he asks who she
Who
was
was that?
talking to.
Yeah.
And she was like, Mormons, really talkative ones.
And just walks away. And I just love the look on Billy's face. And then he goes out on the porch and he looks and he doesn't see anybody. But
Yeah.
whew.
Also, I clocked that jar of seashells that you had mentioned before that they had on their like mantle.
little California things.
Yeah. So she seeks out her window and gets on Lucas's bike and rides off.
Have you ever ride double on a bike?
No.
Neither have I. That's why we're both alive still.
Yeah.
Owens is examining Will. Clearly something is off. He doesn't seem to remember certain people, and it takes him a while to place who Mike is. And he can't seem to remember Hopper or anything from last night besides being hurt. He says the soldiers hurt him, the burn, and how they shouldn't have done that, and that they upset him.
I think Owen sort of has an idea of what's going on.
Mhm.
So he says that they're going to do a little test and they bring in a piece of the vine from the Upside Down.
Yeah.
Or from the tunnels.
Mhm.
And they test it. So they take the, I don't know, flame thing,
The little
and
torch.
the torch and start to sort of burn the vine and see if Will feels anything. And it starts to sting when they're just burning the tip. And then when they full on burn the vine, it's burning Will.
So they're connected in some weird way.
Yes. So then they go out into the hallway and Owens is explaining to Joyce and Hopper that he thinks it's some sort of virus that has infected the host. And he says that all the infected hosts are somehow connected by a hive mind.
Great.
But he says that the good news is that they can cure a virus, but I don't know.
It's
I
not
thought
looking too
that you
good.
couldn't really cure a virus, that like your immune system had to like fight it off.
Yeah, it's kind of like up to you to do it. So Owens,
Yeah.
you're trying to comfort them, but we're not buying it. Sorry.
No. Back to Steve Harrington.
Hell yeah.
So now we are on the train tracks, which call back to the iconic scenes from season 1 where they're walking along the train tracks.
Yeah.
Call back to Stand By Me on the
Mhm.
train tracks. So this is where Steve is asking him, okay, so let me get this straight. You kept this thing that you thought could be dangerous to impress a girl.
Mm,
And he's giving Dustin some romantic advice. He says that the key with girls is to act like you don't care
yeah.
and to wait for that moment where you feel it. So they start to have like a storm analogy. So of course my brain goes to,
Of course.
if you feel it, chase it.
I can't stand you.
I need to make like a meme of that for like Steve Harrington was in Twisters
I
before
cannot.
Twisters.
Literally, I knew you were about to say that. I'm dead right now. I just
because
bum.
they use the storm analogy, the electricity, and Dustin starts saying, "You mean when the electromagnetic?" And Steve's like, "No, sexual electricity."
I just love that it's like he's like a big brother. It shows really great chemistry between Gaten and Joe, and it's just really, really sweet. And then I love that he starts to tell him, he reveals
His
it-
big secret.
his big secret about how
Yeah.
he does his hair. And I love that he's like, you do it when it's damp, not
Yeah.
wet. And what kind of hairspray does he use?
Fabergé Organics shampoo and conditioner.
Okay.
And then when his hair is damp, not wet, it's 4 pumps of the Farrah Fawcett spray.
I
And-
cannot.
The scene ends where Dustin is like, Farrah Fawcett, and Steve is like, well, yeah, she's hot.
I cannot. And you just see them walk by one of the flags that Hopper
Yeah.
put in, so they're kind of approaching more of the infected area. This scene ripped my heart out. So they must have like towed his truck back to the lab. So Hopper's in his scrubs and he's sitting alone in his truck using his radio, and he, first tries Morse code because he knows he's been gone a couple of days, and he assumes that Al is still in the cabin, but unfortunately the cabin is empty. And I like in the scene that we see the blue hair tie again. It's on his wrist, and he kind of like apologizes. And it's just a really touching scene because you can tell he knows, like, he kind of fucked up and he cares about Al. And he's like, I just don't want you getting hurt. I'm sorry. That's why I got so upset. But he's talking to a fucking empty cabin. Whoops.
Yeah. He says, I'm not mad. I'm just sorry. I don't want to lose you.
Mhm.
It was so emotional and a little heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Then we go back inside and the doctors, scientists are looking at Will's brain scans.
Yeah, it's not too good.
No, it's not looking great. And they don't seem to really care.
Which I
very
like that
much.
Owens kind of like advocates for Will, He's
Yeah.
just like, he's the only one that's like, no, we need to save this kid. And the scientists are like, well, if it happens, it happens. Like, we don't care.
Right. I love how Owens just won't really accept that.
Mhm.
And I feel like we've talked about before, I think Owens either had a kid and something happened,
Yeah.
or he was connected in raising
Mhm.
Henry in some way.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna get more about Owens in season 5. I
I
sure
agree.
hope so. So he goes back to his office, and he was like both of us in that moment with his stress ball. So just squeezing his stress
Just
ball.
squeezing it. Yeah, this is a little behind the scenes thing. Usually me and Megan, when we're recording, we have a fidget or a stress ball because
Yeah.
we just need it. And this whole episode, I've just been squeezing mine so that it
Well,
explodes.
Mine
explodes.
exploded recently, so I need to get a new one.
Man, gotta get a new one. We gotta do the Owens. Come on now. In Will's room, Joyce is anxious. She's crawling out of her skin and she tries to talk to Owens, but the guards stop her. And Will is calmly watching, but he zeroes in on the soldier or guards' guns and how these guards were the men who did the burn. And Mike asks him if he saw something in his now memories. And Will seems to snap out of it for a second. And he tells Mike he thinks he knows a way to stop them.
Right. So we cut to the junkyard.
One of my favorite scenes.
Every time Steve showed up on the scene, in my notes, I just wrote in all capital letters, Steve.
Yep. Hell yeah, dude.
But this is so iconic of just the two of them walking in, surveying the junkyard. He's got his sunglasses
The
on.
Ray-Bans, yep.
Yeah. And he's like, this'll do. Good call, dude. And Dustin's
Dustin like lights up, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah. But they put the bucket of meat down, or they start to pour it out. And I love how Lucas from the top of the hill calls, I said medium well.
So good. And he's got, who does he have with him?
Max is there with him.
And I love the look on Dustin's face and the fact that Steve clocks it. I was like, oh.
Yeah. So Steve is kind of just like, who's that? But then when he notices Dustin's face, he realizes that this is the girl that they've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how Lucas and Dustin are having kind of a side conversation away from the other two. And Dustin is complaining a little bit about Lucas telling Max.
Yeah.
And Lucas is saying that she didn't believe him anyway. And Dustin's like, well, you probably didn't tell it right. And
I love
Lucas doesn't even argue because he's so anxious to just like make up between the two of them and let it go. So he's like, you must be right. And Steve bangs the chair against the car.
Them, like, shitheads or something?
Yeah, assholes or shitheads or something. And he's like, why is this random girl the only one helping me? Come on, we're going to lose daylight in 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah, he calls them dickheads. I fucking die. I just love the chemistry of them setting up in the junkyard. So good.
We cut to the buyer's house and Jonathan and Nancy get home and they go into his house and they see everything. So they have not been there in a few days. So they don't know about all of the pictures on the wall and the map and everything. But Jonathan notices one of those little plastic things from the Polaroid camera on the ground. And he shows it to Nancy and he says, I don't shoot Polaroid. This isn't mine.
Whoops.
And I love this transition. He's like, someone else has been here. And there's a transition to all of the Polaroid photos on the table at the lab. So Will is looking at the recreated map of photos that they took at the house.
Yeah.
And he points to this location and he says, this is important. He doesn't want me to see here. And basically they decide that they're going to investigate that location.
Yeah, they're going to send people in to go into the tunnels and see what the hell's going on. So I'm like, girl, I don't think this is a good idea. Just saying. Yeah. But I love that there's a cool montage. It's set to the instrumental theme of Stranger Things Soldiers on the original soundtrack. And it shows the men suiting up to do the burn. And it keeps cutting back to the kids and Steve barricading the bus in the junkyard. And Steve leaves a trail of gas as the kids finish up with the sun setting in the background, which I'm always like, he didn't really do anything with the gas. He didn't have time to, I guess. The men are suited up and they try to find the area that Will circled on the map. And they enter the tunnels and Steve and the kids, they enter the bus.
Yeah. So then we get Steve flicking the lighter, which is such a good scene here. But Max is talking to him a little bit and asking him, so you really fought one of these things? And he doesn't really say anything. He just nods. And she's like, are you sure it wasn't a bear? And Dustin snaps at her and is like, of course it wasn't a bear. Why are you even here if you don't believe me or believe us? Just go home. And I love Max's face looking at Dustin like, oh, really? Like, that's how it is?
Yep. Is it past your bedtime? And in my head, I'm like, he hasn't slept in 4 days.
Yeah. Poor kid. But so she goes away from them and climbs up the ladder to be with Lucas.
And
And
this scene on point.
yeah, but I love Steve saying to Dustin, "Oh yeah, that's good. Show her that you don't care," and winking.
Right?
And Dustin's like, "I don't care. Why are you winking, Steve? Stop."
It's so good. It just like sets the chemistry up for them, their little banter. And it's so good. And like, this is an intense episode. So I like the lightheartedness whenever they're going back and forth. But
Yeah.
we see Max, she climbs the ladder to the roof. And actually, there's like a tender moment with Lucas. You know, here we're able to see some really great acting from Sadie and Caleb. And I like that we see like her light memories from season 4, because this is some of them that flash in that montage. And it was nice to see things kind of slow down. And Max remarks through the fog reminds her of the ocean and sort of gives a glimpse at her home life and how her parents are divorced and how her mom and stepdad wanted a fresh start and how angry Billy is and how he can't take it out on her mom. So he takes it out on her. And she confesses that she doesn't want to become like him. And not to get too serious, but, you know, whenever somebody says that, like, I don't want to turn into that person, just having that doubt and questioning that, you're not going to be that person. So she kind of confesses that, and she apologizes for being so angry. And basically, Lucas comforts her, letting her know that she's nothing like her stepbrother, and that they kind of share like a super cute moment when he's like, "You're totally tubular." And it's just really adorable, slow down, soft moment between the kids. And it's just really nice, you know?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that moment between Lucas and Max, and I think it really set up the foundation for their relationship. And I think that it was a little sad because you did know that Dustin was also crushing on Max a little bit,
Yeah.
but I think that even Dustin in this whole moment kind of realized I think we get a comment from him later about how he could feel the chemistry between
Yeah.
Max and Lucas. So he sort of immediately just
The
backs off.
twisters, the
Yeah.
twister, you know, chemistry.
If you feel it, chase
Chase it. There you go.
But they do see Dart show up,
Oh, yeah.
and they are wondering why he's not taking the bait.
Mhm.
And Steve says that maybe he's sick of Cal. So he goes out of the bus, and Dustin is very concerned.
Yeah.
But I just felt so terrible for Dustin because this again happens to him in season 4
Mhm.
when Eddie leaves him to go be a sacrifice. And Steve is whistling at the Demodogs, and I really thought it was funny because at the time that I was watching it this morning, Leia was playing with our cat
I love that.
and one of our cats, and she heard Steve whistling,
Did she perk up?
and she perks up and looks at the TV.
I'm
But-
telling you, Quinn loves watching the TV. Like, he just
Yeah.
like stops in the middle of the carpet and just looks up at it. So yeah, Leia was hearing Steve whistle. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I would stop if Steve whistled for me too.
Hell yeah.
So Max asks Dustin, what's he doing? And Dustin says that he's expanding the menu. And you hear Steve say, "Human tastes better than cat, I promise." And Max says he's insane. And Dustin says he's awesome. So I just loved that whole little
He's just
interaction.
grinning so proudly, and I love like how cool Steve looks. He's in his jeans, he's in his gray members only jacket, he's got the nail bat, and I have to say, like I mentioned this in an earlier episode, he actually draws a charge. You know, he plants his feet like Billy kind of like, you know, was teasing him, telling him to do. And whenever he rolls to get out of the way of the Demodog that's launching at him over the like hood of the car, I was swooning. Like, holy shit.
He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You do realize that he's surrounded.
He's
So
outnumbered.
he's outnumbered. So he runs back into the bus and they shut the door. And the Demodogs are sort of coming from all angles. And again, why did they not learn their lesson
Yeah.
in this scene? Because they didn't cover the top of the bus.
Yep.
And then that is again what happens in season 4 with the vents and
I
the
didn't even
Demobats.
think about that. That's so good.
So it was a lot of parallels to that in
Mhm.
season 4, I thought. But we have the Demodog at the top of the bus about to come in, and Max's scream is so great.
So good. Yep.
And how Steve is so brave and just like pushes her out of the way and is about to defend them. And suddenly they
They all-
run off.
Yeah, they all
Yeah.
like freeze for a moment, like they're hearing a dog whistle, and they all just run. They're like, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah. Oh, and also I forgot to mention, I love Dustin getting on the radio and he's like, "Is anyone there? Mike, Will, God, anyone? We are at the old junkyard and we are going to die."
I cannot. And I literally love that Steve carefully gets off the bus and looks around, so iconic with the bat over his shoulder, and he says they're going somewhere.
Yeah, because somebody's like, "Oh, Steve scared them off." And he's like, "No, they're going somewhere."
Mm-hmm. Let's see. The men are still making their way down the tunnels, and I don't know if you did watch that clip that I
I
sent you.
did. Yeah. Yeah.
How similar was that? And I love that they say "stay frosty" because that's actually a line in Aliens. And with the radar, it's slowly beeping, and it just reminded me so much of the marine scenes from Aliens. And of course, we have Paul Reiser as Owens. And it's so iconic and it's so perfect because the tension is just so thick in this scene. And Hopper recognizes where they are. And he says that it's the graveyard. So good call, Megan. You did point that out, which must have been where he got his bone from his like little animal carcass in the last episode. So the men claim they don't see anything when suddenly they hear roaring and fog rolls in. Uh-oh.
Right. And then this is where Will starts to apologize
Mhm.
and say that the shadow monster made me do it. It's too late now. So Mike catches on
Mhm.
that it's the spy, name drop,
Name
and
drop.
he runs out to try to warn the soldiers that it's a trap.
Yeah, it's not looking too good. And down in the control room, they have movement on the radar. With the fog, it's almost impossible to see. The beeping gets louder. And Mike tries to warn them, like you said, that it's a trap. And just then a Demodog leaps out of the fog, such a cool shot, and attacks one of the men. And they are all over the radar. And it reminded me of the scene in Silver Bullet, Stephen King reference, where they're trying to hunt whatever beast is killing everybody, and they're in the woods and the fog is so thick they can't see anything. So I love that Will is crying to Joyce that it's too late. And there's an awesome shot as the fog with the flashlights, you see them get taken down one by one. So you don't actually see it, but you see the flashlights disappear. So obviously the Demodogs are attacking them. And Will tells Joyce that they should go now.
Because they're almost here.
Uh-oh.
And Hopper and Owens kind of watch one of the Demodogs start to crawl up out of the hole in the ground.
Yeah. And it's such a great shot of like the Demodog claw, like coming up over the huge hole of the gate and then looking through the glass. This season, the cliffhangers were on point, 100%. But the ending of this episode was very similar to Aliens, which is in my top 10 favorite movies. And you just know, like, everything is building and will kind of like let the cat out of the bag that whatever is possessing him, he made this happen. So, 5 stars.
Yeah, absolutely great episode. Such a good cliffhanger. And just like The Lost Sister makes you wait until you get the next episode, we are also going to make you wait a long time
Oh,
until
yes,
you
we
get
are.
the next deep dive.
Get
So
ready.
that was so much fun. We're going to miss talking about the season 2 for a little while, but we'll be back.
We'll be back.
All right. So let's talk about filming updates. We had a pretty cool week because we got on the last day of Geek Tweak a behind the scenes tour video from Stranger Things. So two fans lucky girls, got to meet Gaten, Caleb, and Finn for a behind the scenes tour of a couple of different places on the set.
All I remember is that they went to see the wardrobe department.
Okay, yeah, the wardrobe was super cool. That might have been first with Caleb, but I'm not sure. So we have seen like little sneak peek videos of
Mhm.
that wardrobe room before. It is incredible. It's like floor to ceiling warehouse
Yeah.
full of clothes. I don't even know how they inventory that shit. It's insane. But they had a few of the more popular costumes out. So they had, I think it was Steve's outfit from season 1. They had Eddie's iconic outfit, obviously.
That was awesome. Yeah.
They had Elle's pink dress from season 1. They had another one too. Oh, Robin's Scoops Ahoy costume. Yeah, and I like how they had that little head on top of Steve.
I have that same exact doll. It's from Funko, so I love that. It's just like his little stuffed animal, face on top of his wardrobe
Yeah,
mannequin.
it's a little plushie,
It's a
right?
plushie. Yeah, it's adorable.
I need that, like, ASAP.
Right.
It's so cute. But they also went to the set department where they make the vines for the Upside
That
Down.
was really cool. As somebody who has like a background with special effects, I was geeking out, no pun intended, really over just the production, and how they have
Yeah.
literally, like you said, a warehouse of just upside down vines.
And they said that they're made from pool noodles.
So cool.
And that they kept a pool noodle company from going out of business because they
love that.
bought so much from them. But they would put like a metal rod through the center
Mhm.
and then cover it with sort of like bed sheet material and then paint it from there. So that was really cool. And then we also got to see the props room
So cool.
where they had a bunch of props. They had letters that were written from the show. They had walkie-talkies.
Mhm.
So that was really cool. If you could see any prop, which one would you want to see?
That's a tough one. I would either want to see Steve's bat or
Mhm.
maybe hold Eddie's original guitar. I think that'd be really sick. What about
Yeah, I was going to say Steve's bat also.
you? Yeah.
And I know that there are definitely multiple because we do have that one photo of him holding
All
of
his
them
babies. Yeah.
like babies. So that's really cool. I was a little bummed that we didn't get to see his bat in that little video. 'Cause
Yeah.
that would have been awesome. But what else has happened this week? What else have we seen?
Well, I think a week or two ago was Gaten's birthday. So what's the name of the place that they went?
I think they went to Medieval Times, which is like a dinner theater jousting competition. It's like if you would go, I don't know, at the Renaissance Festival that I go to, they
Mhm.
have sort of like those jousting tournaments. So there's like a king and all these knights, and when you sit in a certain section at Medieval Times, you're like cheering for one of the knights, like it's your color. So you get to like wear the crown for that night and
Mhm.
everything. But it looked like they got their picture taken like with some of the actors from the Medieval Times.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was such a cool photo to just see the whole cast together. They're like a family. They're just handing it up, having a good time. So it's really cool to see whenever the whole gang is together.
And they were really cute because they were all like dressed up
Yeah.
to go. So that was funny. And I think you said that Joe Keery may have skipped the Emmys to go to
that.
this.
Yeah, I gotta
So-
tell you, like, that actually looks like a better time than the Emmys. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, we had some photos from Sean Levy, our fave.
Mhm.
I forgot about those. Let me pull them up. So he posted a photo with Millie
I love that.
in her costume that we've seen her in a few times now with like the bandana around her neck and the bloody nose. So
Mhm.
seems like she's got a bloody nose a lot of this season.
Probably using
There
those
was
powers.
also a photo of him with Caleb,
Mhm.
which I was thinking it kind of looks like they're in sort of a hospital setting, but
Yeah.
I could be wrong. And there's a photo of him with Gaten,
Love that.
and yeah, just a photo of his like director chair. So that was kind of cool. It's always just fun to see behind the scenes.
It's so funny. Somebody actually posted that either yesterday or today. It's been 10 years since the movie This Is Where I Leave You. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Packed cast. Jason Bateman, I think his name is. Jane
Mm.
Fonda, Tina Fey, Adam Driver. It is a stacked cast. And
Wow, yeah.
it's such a good movie. I recommend it. But Sean Levy, he directed it. And
Oh.
it's funny and it's really good. It's about all these siblings that come home to sit Shiva because, their father passed away. And I never realized he had directed that. And that's actually a movie like I rewatch all the time. So to the listeners and you, Megan, highly recommend it.
Yeah, I love Adam Driver, so
Oh my God, swoon.
yeah, absolutely. Any other filming updates that we've kind of gotten?
I think that's about it right now. Yeah.
Yeah. What about merch? Tell me about merch, Stacey.
So merch has been pretty cool. I'm telling you, they want us to go into the poorhouse. But our friend Jackie, shout out to Jackie, woo, and your two daughters, they showed that the makeup store Ulta is actually doing a Stranger Things line. They have actually lip balm that looks like an Eggo. They have sheer color, hydrating sheer color with non-sticky gloss finish. I don't know if that's, I'm not really a makeup person, guys. Bear with me, but it looks like the Christmas tree lights. So that could either be like lip stuff, I guess. There's a palette, actually. It's super pigmented. It's got glitter finishes and stuff, and it's in the shape of a television. This one I thought was really cool. There's liquid highlighter, and it says, "Have you seen me?" And it looks like it's in a milk container.
Oh.
Then there's an eyeshadow duo, and it's got the Demogorgon. And the last thing is a cream blush that looks like a tape recorder. I'd have to
The
say
packaging is really cool.
the packaging is amazing. The lip balm's $12. The Christmas light thing is $28. The
Okay.
shadow palette is $26. The
Not
milk,
too bad.
that's not terrible. The milk
No.
crate for the liquid highlighter is $12. The eyeshadow duo is $20, and the one that looks like a cassette, which is the cream blush, is $14. Ulta is known for being pricey. Might have to wait on that. I'm not really a makeup person. I do wear like different color eyeliner, so kind of like the palette is kind of calling to me, but they definitely have that. And last thing is my good friend Kate from Over the Pond. Shout out to her. She gave me a great birthday gift. It's from Magically Horrific Home Video, and it is one of the coolest Eddie pins I have ever seen. It's huge. It's heavy. The detail on it is amazing. But yeah, we're kind of waiting. I know a lot of people got messages about their Squishmallows that there might be a delay with the shipping. They were supposed to come out October 1st. Let me know, Megan, if you get an email about that. But as of right now, those are kind of like the new merch updates.
Yeah. So for me, I got a couple exciting things. So I'm wearing one of my new sweatshirts from Beyond Epic,
I love
which
that.
is a shop from our friend Emma. And it is all embroidered, all of her stuff. So it's absolutely beautiful. This is a gray sweatshirt with, it says the babysitter,
Mhm.
and then it says Steve at the bottom, and it's him in his family video uniform on the phone.
I love that. The fact that it's embroidered too, just that little extra bit of detail, that is really high quality merch. So I love that.
Yeah. And I also received another sweatshirt that's red, and it has fire and flowers and like greenery, and it says the Shire is burning.
I love that one.
And underneath of that, it says Eddie the Banished. And I feel like I've talked about this before, but I just love that it's Eddie merch without being Hellfire Club.
Exactly.
So also there's a detail of embroidered gold bats on the
I
wrist,
love that.
which is really cool. And then from her shop, I also got a Steve t-shirt that has, it says Harrington, and it has the nail bat, a Scoops Ahoy hat, an ice cream cone, and some cassette tapes.
That's awesome.
So was super excited. I ordered these a few months ago, but the way her shop works, she does pre-orders and then makes the stuff because it has to be embroidered.
Yeah.
So it's been a few months, and I was so excited to be able to get these before we go to Atlanta.
Hotlanta.
Yeah. And I also finally opened my pop soda
Shout out to Juan.
from Juan. Yes, so he did a really cool roulette video
Mhm.
on his YouTube where he tried to get the chase. He had a 6-pack of these soda cans.
Yep.
And he did get the chase in one of the ones that he opened.
I love that.
So that was so cool. I was so happy for him. I got one unopened,
Yeah.
and so I had the chance, but it was not the chase, but that's okay. I love him so much.
He's so cute. I have the same one. I love the Funko Soda line.
Yeah.
There's the miniature figures. They're adorable. I love them.
Yeah, and it's perfect because it's the Steve that we've just been talking about with the
Exactly.
nail bat in his backpack. He's got his red shoe, or his white and red sneakers on,
His
and
Reeboks.
his jacket and his jeans. He just looks amazing. So he's been my little buddy as I record the past few episodes. And we cannot forget to mention the amazing boxes that we received this week.
Oh my God. Shout out to you guys, Tess. Like, that
Yes.
made my fucking year.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was the highlight of my week, probably the highlight of my month so far. And Tess made us sweatshirts
Yeah.
that I got a white one, Stacey got a black one,
Of
and
course.
it has our podcast logo in the corner on the front,
Mhm.
and on the back it has this really cool design that they did with our little tagline for our secret segment of the podcast. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
It has the Spotify code, and I was so excited. I like immediately pulled up Spotify and like scanned it. I
Yep.
was like, it works.
It's so cool. She gave us Honey Love mugs. You got Kiri, I got Quinn. Just an amazing card. It was just such a nice package. They gave
And the
us our glass
tumbler.
tumblers.
The glass tumbler, because they have that on the Etsy shop.
Which one did you get?
I think we both got the same one with Dustin
and Eddie.
Yeah.
So freaking cool. I cannot recommend their shop enough. I own a sweatshirt already made by them, Steady, and they are just complete sweethearts, and I cannot wait to meet them at the con next month. So thank you.
Anything else for merch?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, cool. So that's it for our episode today.
All right.
We loved talking about this episode,
Mm-hmm.
of course, with all of our Steve Harrington. You know, we were going to love it, but it was just a really cool episode.
Yeah.
In general, definitely one of my favorites of season 2, if not my favorite. It's
Absolutely.
going to be a contender for my favorite episode of season 2, I think.
Mhm.
And again, we will be doing lots of cool guests coming up on our show.
Yep.
Lots of fun happenings, and we've got the rest of our show planned out for the rest of the year, guys. And we are so excited to finish out season 2 of Skull Rock Broadcast
Hell yeah.
with you. And we'll start a new season in the new year.
Yep.
So I know it's like literally September isn't even over, but I feel like the year is starting to wrap up, and it
Yep.
just, it's going to fly by the rest of the year.
Peace out, 2024. What's up,
Yeah.
2025? Yep.
So this has been the highlight of our year for sure. Make sure that you find us on social media at Skull Rock Broadcast, pretty much everywhere. We're most active on Instagram. And yeah, I'm Steady Stories. Stacey is Stay Still Reviews. And until next time, over and out.
Over and out.
Eddie, I'm not sure I love the idea of you driving.
Oh, I'm starting to sucker. Harrington's got her. Don't you, big boy?
Yeah, I always go first for this part, right?
Pardon me now.
All right. We are back.
That is.
So, welcome back to our secret Steady segment,
Let's
where
get our
we
steady
talk.
on.
Yeah, we haven't said that in a while.
Yeah,
So
we gotta bring it back, man.
yeah, we always talk about fan fiction in this separate part, just in case that's not your thing and that's not how you like to interact with the show. But some people do, and we do. So you're in the right place.
Yeah. let's try to be better because I know Juan has sent us some notes.
Oh, yeah. So what let me just say, so last time I made that joke at the end about how if anybody wanted to take notes and, you know, help us out with the end of our segment, and Juan sent us our notes that he took from our segment last week, and I just cracked up because
You're a
they were
mess.
probably completely useless.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how you guys ever find any of the fics that we're talking about
We
because
sometimes don't even mention titles or authors. We're just like, yeah, it was so fucking hot, and then that's it. So we're trying to get better. Don't get bitter. Get better.
Yeah. We'll try a little harder to say the title and the author of the fics that we are talking about.
Yeah.
So, what have you been reading lately this week, Stacey? I know both of us have not been reading a ton.
Yeah, it's been a little hectic right now, but
So this is probably going to be a little short today, but we do have a couple stories to mention. So, what have you been reading?
so I have one story. It's from Pizza Bones, one of our favorites.
Mm.
And I hate this word so much. It's called Little White Panties, which if you were a girl, you hate the word panties.
I absolutely hate it.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Whenever I hear somebody go panties, I'm like, stop. Like, just stop. But they are a genius. They are a fantastic artist as well, glitter things. But their author name is Pizza Bones, and it's called Little White Panties, and they did amazing artwork to go along with it. But basically, it's about Steve and Eddie. They're watching the first Alien, and they see the end where Sigourney Weaver is in the little white panties. And Eddie says, like, because Halloween's coming up, he's going to dress up as that. So Steve kind of makes a remark going, oh, are you going to wear the panties? Let's just say, without spoiling anything, there is a party scene and a spin the bottle scene. So good. And when this smut hits, guys, the smut fucking hits. You stop thinking about the word panties. You are just totally into it. 5 stars, amazing, highly recommended.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to read that because I know you sent it to me and I did not read it yet, but I'm super excited. I did not read a ton. I did listen to something really cool, though, that I wanted to mention.
Mhm.
So I participated in that pod together and did a couple podfics, and I was listening to some other people's podfics for that event. So it was fics that were specifically written to be read as
Mhm.
podfics. And I'm going to sound probably so clueless right now, but Firewatch?
Firewatch, okay.
Is that a TV show?
I have no idea.
Oh, it's a video game.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so apparently there's a video game called Firewatch, which I have never played or heard of before. But
Okay.
if you have heard of it before, maybe this would make a little bit more sense to you.
Okay.
But it's a Stranger Things Firewatch sort of crossover story,
Mhm.
and it's called Lake Kane,
Ooh.
and it is written. So let me read the authors so that I don't forget. It's L Dubs, Rambling_Company, and SS Leaf are
Okay.
the writers and podfiggers. That's the team of people that put together this story. So they actually wrote the first chapter last year and
Okay.
recorded it. And they just wrote and recorded the second chapter this year for the
Okay.
event. But the whole premise is, and it's written sort of like a script, and the sound effects are like a huge
Oh, I
part of
love
the
when they
story.
add that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the premise is that Steve, Eddie, and Robin are all fire watchers in sort of like a national park land near Hawkins. So for their summer job, they go out and they have to basically live in this tower and watch for wildfires.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And they
Sign me
can
up.
only communicate by radio
Hello.
with each other.
Yeah.
So it's really cool because it's just like the radio transmissions and the conversations, and like once in a while, like Steve and Robin meet up, and sometimes Robin and Eddie meet up, but up until like the middle of the second chapter, Steve doesn't even know who Eddie is. Like he knows that his name is Eddie, but he doesn't realize that he's like Eddie Munson from school.
Love that.
And yeah, it's a really cool story, and the podfic is really well done and really beautiful, and there's music incorporated and sound effects, and the whole premise is that it's sort of an AU to the mall story, because instead of the evil Russians being in the mall,
Mhm.
they're like out in the woods.
Ooh,
And I
sick.
think that there's definitely maybe a Demogorgon on the loose too,
Great.
because there's something that they think is a bear that's been tearing stuff up. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen because I haven't finished it yet. Plus, I don't want
Damn.
to spoil it for everybody.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was a perfect time to talk about it. So it's really cool. And I'll try to link that so people can listen to it. And yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Cool. I love that.
So,
Firewatch towers and panties. That's all you need.
yep, that's all you need to know. Lake Kane, Podfic, and our fave pizza bones with the panties.
It's
I do also hate that word.
so bad. Oh my God. I hate it. All right. Well, this was a ton of fun. We have a lot of stuff coming up that is going to be fantastic. But I have to say,
Yeah.
Megan, this was a blast.
I had so much fun. I can't wait for all the fun stuff that we have coming up and to take everyone listening along for the ride. So have a great week. We will be back next week, not for a deep dive,
Yep.
but until then, over and out.
Over and out.